And with that, we welcome you to Cinephilia Radio. Cinephilia Radio is things all it is. Okay, let's just, cut. Call cut.
Cut.
All right, sorry. What do you want me to do with the second take?
I don't know. We're here after the end. Everyone is gone.
Okay.
The lights are flickering in the studio.
All right, I'm gonna try it again. Are you ready?
Okay. Action.
Hey, and welcome to Cinephilia Radio. This is the radio show that's about all things film, as you might have guessed. So that was Finding Neverland, the theme from the great J.M. Barrie biopic / period piece. I watched that for the first time this week and was seemingly brought to tears. I liked it. A little cheesy, but pretty good.
Only seemingly?
Actually, the opposite of that word. I was brought to tears, but covered it very well with my polo.
Oh.
Those collars come in handy for more than just formality.
For a minute there, I was adding an I to that word, so I was like, I covered it with my polio. And I was like, oh, it's awful.
Yeah.
Polio.
Well, okay, we'd just like to establish that none of us have polio. But hey, who's on set with us today?
No one.
No one.
All right, let's go around and do introductions, I guess.
Do you want to start?
I guess I'll start. Hi, I'm Troy Peterson. Me and Rob are some of the last surviving cinephiles after the fall. They are all either dead or out joining a fellowship.
Or worse.
Or worse.
And I'm JP Jupiter. I'm friends with these guys, and I like Star Wars
You like
Yeah.
Star Wars.
a lot.
I like Star Wars.
Yay, Star Wars.
I like to party. I know
like to
for a
party.
fact that you don't like to party.
I do like to party.
My name's Rob, and I like Star Wars.
My name's Troy, and I like Star Wars.
My
A
name,
decent amount.
but I like Star Wars.
Oh.
My name's Rob, and I like Star Wars.
Oh, my name's Troy, and I like Star Wars.
I know for a fact that you do not like Star Wars.
I totally like Star Wars.
All right, and that was a Hot Rod reference. Thanks for joining us for that.
I actually just saw Hot Rod for the first time a couple weeks back.
What did you think of it?
I thought it was interesting, and I mean, it was honestly the most ridiculous, over-the-top movie I've ever seen.
It's a movie that really sums up the decade it was made in, I
Definitely.
feel. Like that whole part where they're walking down the street and it's all inspirational, and then it turns into a riot, and then later just goes, that started out, we all were really good, started out really positive, we all had common sense and purpose.
Did we do that?
And then that riot broke out. I don't know what happened. If anything sums up the 2000s, it's that joke. It started out really positive, and
It's just terrible how people will take advantage of a situation. He's like carrying the TV.
I love that movie. Roger Ebert loved that movie. I love that movie. I think it's 63, 64 on my current top 100.
It's a really good movie. Katie Higgins, thank you for showing me Hot Rod. Shout out.
Thank you to Basic Cable for showing me Hot Rod.
These are all things film on this show, and we just start by discussing film. But don't worry, we'll have some serious segments in just a few minutes here. Who else is in the studio besides JP? Troy.
Stan Lee is here. Just to report on what's going on with Marvel. I loved USC so much, I enrolled. Excelsior.
Yes, we
Enough
did.
said.
We did
Stay
have-
Soapbox. X-Men.
Stanley was on campus. the other night,
Spider-Man.
and he was good.
That was great.
So, what to start off with? JP, I believe that you have some vital information for the listeners.
I have vital information.
Oh, maybe not. Do you not have no vital information?
Wait, what? Are we talking Star Wars news?
Well, do you have any Star Wars news that would not necessarily be a spoiler?
Well, it really comes down to what you define a spoiler, Rob.
I know.
I define spoiler as an adult diaper that doesn't work. Stanley here.
Because, like, I know that you don't want to see anything,
Right, I wanna
or
be
hear
as
or really
blind
hear
as
about
possible.
anything before the. So I guess I'll just talk about it more in general.
Yeah. Do it in general sense.
Have
And
we,
if
have
you
we
wanna
already
get
talked about the
specific-
drone photos?
Yes, a little. We had a Millennium Falcon and a X-wing fighter.
Oh, well, there's
And
more.
an ISIS
Oh, is there
fighter
more?
and
Yeah.
tank. Oh wait, wrong drone.
Wrong drones.
Photograph.
Wrong drones.
Photographed actual drones.
We've got, in addition to those, they did more photos at that base there's Rebel uniforms now.
Okay.
They look a lot like the original trilogy uniforms. It's a really great. I think that it's moving in a really great direction as far as aesthetically, in keeping with the tradition of the original trilogy. Because definitely one of the biggest concerns that people had moving forward was how J.J. Abrams and the Star Wars crew was going to
preserve the original.
not necessarily preserve, but reconcile the differences in production design between the prequels and the original trilogy,
Oh.
because there are certainly differences between the two trilogies as far as the way that the universe looks, from ship design to costume design to just that sort of thing. And it's definitely a shift more towards the original trilogy with muted color palettes and
Cool.
yeah, like just really looking more like space westerny.
Nice.
For now that the great original crew of the Millennium Falcon's back and stuff. Another thing that just came up yesterday and today, was Roger Moore went to the set. We know that Kevin Smith's been to the set. Daniel Craig was rumored to have gone to the set, and now Roger Moore.
And be in the movie.
Oh yeah, they did. Daniel Craig is rumored to be in the movie, but honestly, that really could mean anything, because Daniel Craig's been shooting James Bond at the same studio. So
Pinewood?
Yeah, Pinewood Studios.
What if all the James Bonds are in this movie? That's right. Henry Jones Sr. comes back.
Yeah, that's where he was in Indiana Jones 4. He actually got abducted and taken
Into
to the Star Wars
past
galaxy
by all the aliens.
Yeah.
Crossover.
I named the dog Indiana.
Yeah.
Oh, and the Wookiee.
I personally wouldn't mind seeing Sean Connery in Star Wars Episode 7, but I don't know how anyone else feels about that.
I would be very happy. Sean Connery's one of my favorites.
But yeah, Roger Moore, he liked what he saw, and he was specifically talking about sort of one of the big shoots that they did was in a forest that people have been rumoring to be the forest moon of Endor, but from all the information that we have right now, it seems like to be some different planet.
Are they just picking up wreckage and dead Ewoks?
Maybe. That would be really depressing.
I'm referencing, of course, the little-known sub-fact called the Endor Holocaust, where, scientifically speaking, the metallic material of the Death Star would have to end up somewhere, and that would most likely be in Endor's atmosphere, and it would take the form of falling, flaming debris, which would essentially kill all life on the planet.
Even worse is that the moon of Endor, remember it's a moon.
Right.
We don't know where the planet is. And one source book back in the 80s said the planet had blown up. So the moon doesn't have a planet, and it has flaming debris flying towards it. So, yes, life on Endor is doomed.
So
but not before they made 2 TV specials in the 80s.
Does that mean that the Death Star has gone from a small moon to a smaller satellite? Or can there be a moon of a moon?
Who knows? Who knows?
At what point does a moon stop being a moon?
That's no moon. That's a satellite. Because that's the moon that it's orbiting. Shut up, Ben.
That's no moon, that's Iron Man! Shut up, Stan. No, you can't make me!
I took Billy D. Williams' part. Where is Billy D. today, Troy?
Billy D unfortunately couldn't be with us. He has to go play Lando at a children's party.
Wow. Lucky
Yep.
kids.
Yep.
Anything else, JP?
Well, yeah, I was saying
Sure.
about the forest planet is, from what we're seeing, it's covered in ice and snow. So that's led some people to believe that it's Hoth or perhaps Endor during the wintertime. But
Is J.J. Abrams sticking with the idea that every planet only has one biome all year round?
that's usually what happens in Star Wars. Is
true.
every planet has its own thing.
It's very easy to do.
I mean, yeah, I personally don't really have a problem with
no
that.
problem.
I like it because it allows for if we move environments, we have to move location, which just gives them something to do. Go from planet to planet, as well as it allows the planets to be easily recognizable for the audience as well. Hoth is the ice planet, Tatooine's the desert planet.
Here's a brief thought, real quick. I was thinking the other day. Wait, are you at the end of your
I'm
thought?
not.
Okay, finish your thought. I'm sorry.
And from
White
what
House press conference.
yeah, from what Roger Moore said, and from what we know about this ice planet that they've been shooting on, is that it looks to validate some of the concept art that we've seen, or that's been released to the public, showing two figures dueling with lightsabers on an ice planet, while the Millennium Falcon hovers overhead. And it's a great little piece of concept art that sort of really just shows that, this is Star Wars. It's coming back. There's lightsabers, there's spaceships, there's adventure.
There's space, there's stars, there's wars, there's crotchety Harrison Ford.
Yeah, I'm excited.
My ankle hurts.
His leg. My leg!
My thought was, okay, so on Hoth, the Rebels have this huge hangar, an intricate series of ice tunnels with complex wiring, a base, and a flippin' ion cannon.
Yeah.
Didn't the Wampas take it over?
Yeah, the Wampas. I think the Wampas probably took it over after the Rebels left.
Right. I'm saying it within the original series, not the new stuff. Within the original series, because I was reading the opening crawls. I printed out the opening crawls for all the Star Wars movies, and put them on our bathroom, on our toilet part of the bathroom wall. So if you're a male and you have to pee, you get to look at the poster for Neighbors. But if you have to not pee and still use the bathroom, then you get to look at the Star Wars opening crawls. It's sort of it's a time commitment thing. Anyway, so in the crawl, it talked about how the rebels were being pursued across the galaxy by the dreaded Imperial Starfleet, following the Battle of Yavin. And what I was wondering is, do the rebels have some sort of intricate, advanced scouting team that goes and builds these huge war bases for them, and then they inhabit them?
They had 3 years to build that one. If we want to be technical,
they had a bit of time to.
Yeah.
So
do
they show up in their ships and just start building?
Yeah.
Probably. What I would say is, while they probably were scouting for new bases at the time, and and while they were scouting for bases, the main Rebel fleet was probably, running across the galaxy, leading Darth Vader on his little chase. To
Another
Dantooine.
planet we never have seen.
Well, except for in Knights of the Republic.
True.
You do go to Dantooine.
That's not canon.
Dantooine is the birth of the Jedi, right?
What?
That's where the original Jedi Temple is Dantooine.
It's not.
Isn't Osu the planet?
Tython is the original Jedi Temple.
Then what does Dantooine have?
This is not canon anymore. So it doesn't really
in Knights
matter.
of the Republic, what?
anymore? So.
Oh, I don't remember what Dantooine has in Knights of the Old Republic. It's been a while.
Dantooine has a very old Jedi training school.
Probably.
It's the hub of the Jedi in Knights of the Republic. And then not Kotoran. What planet does that sound like? Kotoran?
It sounds like KOTOR in Knights of the Old Republic.
Sounds like
KOTOR.
Settlers of the Catan.
There's some Korriban.
That's
Korriban is
the planet
Sith,
of the Sith,
right?
yeah.
So you go back and forth between Dantooine and Korriban.
Which is now called Moraband for all of you Clone Wars watchers.
Oh, did they change it?
They changed the name of Korriban to
Oh,
Moraband.
I didn't catch that.
Why?
Yeah. Why? Because George Lucas didn't like the name Korriban.
Really? It sounds cooler than Moraban.
Well,
Korriban
we're
was
dealing
cool.
with George Lucas here, so
So it's Morabon now?
George Lucas changed it to Moraband because there's an episode in the Lost Missions of the Clone Wars where Yoda goes to Moraband, the planet of the
Wow,
Sith.
I didn't make that connection.
It's the same planet though.
Yeah.
It just has two different names.
Oh, that's too bad. I would have liked to know that when I saw that.
Translations in the language.
Yeah, I think that's how they describe the shift of names is that
okay.
there's a difference in
It's
translation.
like 4,000 years.
Oh, I was joking, but I mean...
But
It's a difference of 4,000 years.
our jokes are George Lucas's storylines.
Star Wars Rebels, we're 1 week out from Star Wars Rebels.
Yeah.
For those of us who haven't seen it
For
yet.
those of us who haven't seen it, I've had friends who've seen it. It's actually out right now.
Yeah, if
For
you're
those
like
of
a
you who have
Disney
watched
XD.
Disney XD, you can see it. And the reviews are in, and it's great.
Yeah,
People are loving it.
all of the promos that I've
Greg
seen
Wiseman
have been very
made it.
good.
If you know who Greg Wiseman is, he made Gargoyles, Young Justice, and the best version of Spider-Man since yours, Stan. Spectacular Spider-Man was amazing. They even let me cameo in it. But it got canceled after 26 episodes. Yes, it did.
Yeah.
Well, I think that'll bring us to our first commercial break. And we have a very special one for you guys this week. We have a Boyhood PSA that we are continuing to play here on KXSC.
I remember.
By the
my
way,
Boyhood.
and
In the
following,
20s.
so the Boyhood PSAs can be real fast, and then right after the Boyhood PSA, we're going to play a bit from Spellbound, the Hitchcock movie we watched this week, which will lead us into a rousing discussion of Hitchcock. Is there any last Star Wars news?
There's some Marvel news, actually.
Oh, there's Marvel news.
Okay, we'll get to that as well. So, Boyhood, and then Spellbound, and then we will be back in just a few minutes. Enjoy. Or don't enjoy. I don't really care. And we are back. That was the Spellbound Suite by the City of Prague Philharmonic Orchestra from Psycho, the Essential Alfred Hitchcock. And that was also a cool, very cool ad for Boyhood from the makers of Boyhood as well. So now we've got a great discussion on the Hitchcock movies and the Maltin movie that we watched this very week.
What movie do we want to start with first? Do we want to only do, the Hitchcock movies from this past week? This week in our Maltin and Hitchcock class, me and Rob watched Shadow of a Doubt, my personal favorite Hitchcock.
Which is also Hitchcock's personal favorite Hitchcock.
Exactly, which is why I'm right. And Lifeboat in Hitchcock. And then we watched the band concert, the old Mickey Mouse cartoon in Leonard Maltin class, and a new movie that I think is going to have serious Oscar contention. One of the best movies of the year, Little Children.
Little Accidents.
Oh, Little Accident. Little Children
Little
is, I think, an
Not
Oscar
saying-
movie. Actually, that was a movie that came out like a couple years back.
And we're not implying that little children are accidents or that accidents are little children. It's just
Ooh, Little Accidents actually has 80% on Rotten Tomatoes, so you have no reason not to go see this movie.
Yeah.
Elizabeth Banks says Accident. And actually, before we move on to Hitchcock, I want to do my plug for Little Accidents. It's
Yeah,
kind
sure.
of about people suffering with the after effects of this mining tragedy. And it looks at, like, the only surviving miner from it who got, like, oxygen deprivation, I think. So he's a little bit paralyzed.
He was in a coma.
Yeah, he was in a coma. And he was a little bit paralyzed.
And you kind of find all this out as the movie goes on. It's
Yeah.
very piecemeal in terms of information revealed.
Yeah. And then you have the family of that Elizabeth Banks and Josh Lucas, if you know him, are like the parents of, that is like, because Josh Lucas was the guy in charge of it, so everyone blames him for the accident. So they're hated by the community. And then you have another family where the main character is the 10-year-old son of one of the miners who didn't make it. Now they deal with it. And it's about how all of them kind of deal.
No, he was a freshman in high school.
Oh, yeah, he
Yeah.
looked 10, but he was a freshman in high school. For
Yeah.
a minute there, I thought he said he was a junior.
Yeah,
And I
he
was
did, and I
confused.
think he was lying in that scene because I was trying to figure it out.
He was actually a freshman. And it's kind of a hard film to talk about because you think the movie's only going to be about the mining accident. But then there's another thing that happens like 10 minutes in that shocks
It's
me
crazy,
so
yeah.
completely. And that actually is another major part of the film.
It's very much Die Hard in the sense that the A plot is John McClane wants to reconnect with his wife, but the B plot is like the entire like hostage takeover situation that drives the A plot. It's almost the same thing with this movie, but obviously not involving Hans Gruber.
The two movies that it made me think about were Ordinary People from 1980 and Boyhood. Ordinary People, in that it really is about people dealing with like the consequences of this tragedy. For the people who haven't seen that movie, it was the 1980 Best Picture winner, directed by Robert Redford, who incidentally also had a hand in Little Accidents. It came from the Sundance Labs it was developed in. And it's about Mary Tyler Moore and Donald Sutherland, and they have one son who died in a boating accident, and their other son tried to commit suicide after it, so they're kind of dealing with the fallout of that. And Little Accidents is a lot like that, where it's just normal people dealing with the fallout. It's not as structured as Ordinary People is. Like, you really just feel you're just watching people live, and it's a lot more genuine and indie, but I think that's very good. And Boyhood, actually, because much like Boyhood, it very much was like a slice of life, but I felt the characters in this movie were far more developed, and there were actually consequences to people's actions, and they just felt more real to me. Like the freshman kid in this movie, even though he does some interesting things, I thought he was very relatable, and I thought even though they're not all perfect in this movie, I identified with them in their struggles.
He was played by Boyd Holbrook, is that right?
No, that was the minor.
Oh, okay.
I was talking about the
kid.
freshman.
Yeah.
Yeah, Boyd Holbrook, who was in Behind the Candelabra, and he's really good.
So would you call this film How Green Was My Valley 2?
Actually, that's what Rob called it. Rob was like, every movie in a coal town has to be good.
No. Going in, I was like, I really like movies that happen in coal towns. I haven't seen Coal Miner's Daughter yet, but
No, you haven't. That's really good.
I will see that one. I really liked How Green Was My Valley. I was the only one that really liked that one, and I really liked.
Hey, I liked it.
October Sky. October Sky is, one of my all-time favorite movies. Have you seen October Sky?
I've seen
No,
it.
what year did it come out?
I don't know, but Jake Gyllenhaal's in it.
Yeah, and he plays Homer Hickam. What would you say, like late 90s, early 2000s?
Probably late 90s, early 2000s.
And it's just about this kid that grows up in a coal mining town, and he wants to break out of the coal mining like family industry, and he wants to go make rockets. And so it's at the start. It's a period piece, like 1950s, right before the space age.
Everybody gets scared when Sputnik comes.
And it's just a wonderful father-son movie, and just great. So this did not disappoint. It was another great
really
coal
good.
mining movie.
Yeah, Elizabeth Banks is probably going to get some Oscar buzz for it, definitely, I think. And I'm always a fan of Elizabeth Banks.
Yeah, she's great.
Do we want to move on to... Well, before we abandon Malton, again, we watched the band concert, the first color Mickey Mouse cartoon on a big screen, and Leonard Malton did Electro on Walt Disney, and I was just smiling the whole time. I got to see it on the big screen. I'm so happy. Anyway, yeah, we can move on to Hitchcock. Just like I love Mickey Mouse.
Well, in Hitchcock this week we watched Shadow of a Doubt and Lifeboat. Those were the two films. The week before was Rebecca, and next week will be... I keep blanking.
The next week will be Notorious, which is Casper's personal favorite Hitchcock, Truffaut's personal favorite Hitchcock, and it used to be Roger Ebert's, but once in the new millennia, he came around to Vertigo as the best Hitchcock.
It's also Biggie Smalls' favorite Hitchcock movie as well.
Notorious!
I've heard.
And then Rope, and then we're doing Rope after.
I'm very excited for Rope.
I wasn't a big fan of Notorious, and I've heard mixed things on Rope, so
I think you'll like.
I'm curious to reevaluate one movie and see the other one.
Anyway, well, this week what we have seen. Do you just want to go in a circle and just discuss? I guess you like Shadow of a Doubt more. I liked Lifeboat more.
I'd be curious to see why you like Lifeboat more.
JP, have you seen either of them? Were you
No,
there?
I had Rosh Hashanah stuff to do.
Oh yes, happy Lashana Tova.
Happy New
Shana
Year!
Tova, everyone.
Happy New Year, Stan. Thanks.
You're welcome.
I like Hitchcock too, but I'm not going to talk about it because I don't remember things. Okay.
I want to be another movie with girls. His roles have gotten like more and more like.
He just picks up women now after Iron
Hugh
Man.
Hefner.
After
yeah.
Hey, Hef.
Well, okay. Shadow of a Doubt was what we watched first, so let's hear it on Shadow of a Doubt.
All right, so Shadow of a Doubt is, as I said, my personal favorite Hitchcock movie before The Class, and Hitchcock's personal favorite, though he said he only picked that to please people. It's about this young girl played by Teresa Wright. It was made in 1943. It's this young girl played by Teresa Wright named Charlie, who's just graduated high school, and she lives in Santa Rosa, California, in this little suburb with her family, and she's very bored, and she feels she's in a rut and that nothing interesting happens. So her favorite person in the world, her uncle Charlie, played by Joseph Cotton of Citizen Kane and The Third Man, he comes to town, and she's like, yay, he comes to town. But then the audience kind of knows right from the beginning, but she gradually learns that he may in fact be a serial killer who, the Merry Widow, is it the Merry Widow Strangler? Merry Widow, I think it's a strangler. I think it's implied he's a strangler.
I think he was Merry Widow.
Merry Widow killer or something. But anyway, yeah, she finds out he's going to be a serial killer. Well, he is a serial killer, and then she has to decide what to do about it. And it's really gripping. It's a story about good versus evil and growing up and just putting people on a pedestal and if they match up to it. And it's my personal favorite Hitchcock, I think, because it's where I think you had... Hitchcock is fine. He's a master of the medium, I think, but he's not really good at humans or compelling stories that function on anything other than, are you scared yet? Or, oh no, what's going to happen? And I think this one works really well because he had an all-star backing team. You had Thornton Wilder wrote the first draft, the guy who wrote Our Town, to get that small town feel. And then Sally Benson took over, who wrote Meet Me in St. Louis. So, again, lots of small town feel. Joseph Cotton, of course, to quote him, he once said, Citizen Kane was Orson Welles' best film, The Third Man was Carol Reed's best film, and Shadow of a Doubt was, according to Hitchcock, his best film. And I'm in all three of them. I mean, you can't go wrong with Joseph Cotton. Teresa Wright, just so relatable and has so much good chemistry with Cotton. We learned last night that he wanted Joan Fontaine or Olivia de Havilland to play her, and it's no, what are you doing? No offense to the still living Olivia or the recently dead Joan, but not now. And actually, as I pointed out, the dad of Teresa Wright's father in the movie is played by Henry Travers, who played Clarence the Angel in It's a Wonderful Life. So I think it really works well because it really feels like it hits home, because usually with Hitchcock, it's you never, the stuff, it's not really, I can't really connect to it because it really is a choose-your-own-adventure movie where you're just running around the countryside oh no, someone's trying to get me. But this felt more real where it's the suburbs and a serial killer comes in there, but you really like the serial killer. Of course, it has so many great monologues, and they even did a Family Guy episode parodying it with Robert Downey Jr. playing Lois's brother. And that was pretty good. And it's it's a solid movie. What did you... Well, you sum up Lifeboat.
Yeah, so I didn't like Lifeboat more than Shadow of a Doubt because I found a flaw with Shadow of the Doubt. I thought Shadow of the Doubt was also very excellent. I just really liked Lifeboat. The deal with Lifeboat is Hitchcock said, I want to challenge myself. Let's, I'm going to put 9 actors, more or less, in a lifeboat, and I'm going to see if I can vary the shots to the point where the action is still tense, to where there's still good things that happen, to where it can be sustained for an entire feature-length film, and I think he definitely pulled it off. It's like an 80-minute film, so, it's not a long film by any means, but he definitely does what he needs to throughout the entire thing. I really like the character in Lifeboat. I liked how the camera was always moving. I think that's almost, for me at least, I wouldn't say from a film critique standpoint, but when I'm watching a movie, I like there to be a little more camera movement than something like a noir, where they're just it's very much conversations that are very still. In Lifeboat, it felt like we were always in motion, we were always moving, the boat was rocking, whether or not it actually was or whether they were on the tank or not. There was a lot of motion in the frame. The perspectives were very good. The danger, I thought, was very real. I really liked the German character. He's I won't spoil anything. He starts off, very innocent, but he turns out to be very cunning, a very formidable foe for the group, both in terms of physicality and in terms of morality debates. And again, the characters I really enjoy the characters, most of them. I thought they all got good screen time. I thought there was, an African American in the film, and I don't think they disrespected him like other films of the same.
There was that one part
period.
where they were like, someone needs to frisk his pockets. Hey.
Yeah,
and then
yeah,
the guy was like, I don't do that anymore. And I was like, and
if you say he doesn't do it anymore, at
me and Paul
least,
Snow were like, oh, you were doing so well up to that. But overall, yeah, he's done.
He was a pretty full character. So it was a really compelling story. Obviously, Life of Pi took great amounts from Lifeboat, and I think both of them are really great. I just really enjoyed the challenge in making it something that was tense. And there were just, especially for the first 30 to 40 minutes, there were a ton of moments where it was just very one thing after the other. It was very tightly put together. And it wasn't until about halfway through where you kind of get to the point where okay, now we're waiting for more action. But those moments didn't last long. So I don't know if Lifeboat would be my favorite Hitchcock we've watched so far. I'm still impartial to Saboteur. I really like the 39 Steps. I like The Lady Vanishes. I like Shadow of a Doubt. So it's still kind of a jumbled toss-up that will probably still get topped by Psycho.
I haven't seen Psycho, which is, I'm pretty excited for it. But yeah, I would put Lifeboat, Shadow of a Doubt and Saboteur are the only 5-star Hitchcocks I've seen in the class so far, and overall, Vertigo's the only other 5-star Hitchcock. I have Lifeboat and Lady Vanishes at 4.5. I'm still debating which one is better. I think I may have had more fun with Lady Vanishes, while with Lifeboat, I'd been waiting to see Lifeboat for years, as people who read my old essays would know, because it sounded really interesting, but I just felt like they were... Again, it's okay for a movie not to have traditional story structure and have a climax and stuff, but really all of Hitchcock's movies do, I think. And Lifeboat in particular, I felt did with The Threat, the German. Both of these movies were made in World War II, so they still were, so obviously, yeah, Germans, bad news. The moral of this week in all our classes we decided was Nazis are bad, but...
And apparently some people still didn't get it.
Yeah, we'll touch on that in Super Road screenwriting.
Let's go to our last commercial break. Sans, any last comments?
Well, yeah, just to finish up, but I felt Lifeboat, it didn't emphasize, there's the climax where they finally defeat the evil that's plaguing them, and it just happens so quickly, and it just isn't emphasized. And the ending doesn't really feel like an ending. It just feels like the movie stops, which I didn't really...
It's very much a modernist. It's very much a modernist film in the way that, in the end, they ask, "Did we do the right thing?" And it felt it was a very much a Great Escape ending,
And then they set fire to the pizzeria, and Spike Lee gets a career out of it.
And then we get a quote from Martin Luther King and a quote from Malcolm X en route.
All right.
All right, then that will bring us to a very brief PSA. We're gonna get a quick tune from Randy Newman, Disney Pixar Greatest Hits, "The Time of Your Life." This is a song. This is technically the Toy Story theme, but apparently it has lyrics, and the lyrics are very sentimental. So we will get to that just after these PSAs. Hold on a few minutes, and we'll talk to you real soon. We are back for one last quick discussion of Marvel before sending you off to the weekend.
Well, I think we could talk about a lot of things, but apparently they've settled with Jack Kirby's family over who owns my characters. I made Iron Man. Jack Kirby just drew the armor. Don Heck helped me with that. Oh, Jack Kirby thinks he created the Thing. I am the Thing. I am the Marvel Thing. Stan, that's a plaster wall. Stan Lee is currently running through the Tudor Campus Center, and he's giving out autographs as he goes. Oh, that's Stan. Such a nice guy.
Wow. Truly a legend.
But basically, yeah, they've settled with Jack Kirby's family. I don't think they've given any characters back. I think Jack Kirby's the co-creator with Stan Lee of Fantastic Four, X-Men, Avengers, Thor. Also created Captain America with Joe Simon and tons of other people, Darkseid for DC and tons of stuff. And his family's been suing him to get like royalties. And
I'm still waiting for the Batman settlement because Bob Kane
Finger's family doesn't care, and Bob Kane's family is like mafia. So no offense to the Kane family.
Well, with the last 7 to 9 minutes remaining in the show, what are the high points of Marvel that we need to hit?
Well,
for this
I
week?
think that's pretty much all Marvel, but
or
DC
DC,
and
comics.
and other
Sorry.
superheroes. Well,
Comics in general.
Since Gotham, we're going to talk about Gotham, but that could take a while. Let's
I
quickly
do have a piece of Marvel news. I mean, it
About
ties.
Star Wars?
Yeah, it ties back into
Well, wait, first let's do Rocketeer, because that's very week specific.
Okay,
tying
that's
back to
true.
the Nazis are bad. I'm in a super heroic screenwriting class, and Rob and everyone
I
came
sat
to sit
in.
in
Yeah.
because, well, Stan Lee, who is currently jumping back on the Bovard building, he was inside the Bovard building Tuesday, but it was the Rocketeer, and the guy who teaches my class, Danny Bilson, co-wrote it with Paul DeMeo, and they both came in and talked about
Why didn't you invite me?
everyone was at Stan Lee. It was a big thing. JP, we can't tell you everything. And so it was cool. So we watched the movie, and there was a Q&A. And they were all asking them, because at one point, because the villains, it takes place in the 30s, and the villains are Nazis. At one point, the Rocketeer's in front of the American flag, and it's like, go America. And these people were like, well, why do you have him go in front of the American flag? This movie is propaganda. And they made him like apologize. They're like, we wouldn't do that today, but it was the 40s, and it was black and white, and the Nazis were bad. And
Yeah, there was this one guy who just raised his hand. He goes like, yeah, so like, what do you think about like Germany and like how Germany was portrayed in this movie and how Germany's portrayed in most movies as being Nazis and how they're not really all that
And they
bad.
made him really defensive about it. Like, they were like, we came from good liberal families.
They were like, oh, sorry for making the Nazis bad.
I just have no sympathy for the Germans in World War II.
They're like-
I'm sorry, it's just how I feel. This is all opinion.
Like, listen,
and I'm like,
like-
what are you guys
They're like,
doing?
we grew up in the 60s. We're liberal. We don't really like America all that much, but we really hate Nazis. So it was really it was really just a process of elimination here.
No one had a problem with it in Spider-Man. Nah, they didn't. Hi, Stan. I'm back.
Stands back.
All right, and now I guess we can talk about Gotham. The new
Well, the
Batman
Rocketeer was
stuff.
good. I like the Rocketeer.
The
Oh, yeah,
Rocketeer's
but I
a
love
great
The
movie.
Rocketeer, yeah.
It's a
Music-
fantastic
And
movie.
music
Dave
that was
Fowler wrote part of the
underrated.
comic, and I love the comic. You guys, if you don't know what the Rocketeer is, you need more of it in your life.
Yeah.
The Rocketeer
Classic
is
30s. pulp
excellent.
fun,
So much great plane imagery.
and jetpacks and
Plane rating 9 out of 10.
Hollywood jokes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
comic
Errol Flynn, yeah.
jokes, yep.
Aeroflot. Yeah.
Why, you stabbed me. Was I stealing the scene? Shh, don't talk. Oh, well, you need to see the movie.
Yeah, you
It
didn't
was
see the
good.
All right, let's move on to Gotham before we run out of time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Gotham. I saw Gotham on Monday.
As did I.
The entire city?
Yes.
Yeah, they actually did cover most of it.
They covered quite a bit of the city actually. Speaking of the city, I was a fan of the production design of the
It
show.
looks very nice.
Yeah, it's a good looking
I like the
show.
look.
Yeah.
Very cinema-y, but that may have been just because it was a pilot.
Yeah. We'll have to see how it holds up for the rest.
Cinematic, I meant. Cinema-y is not a word.
Yeah. Yeah, I liked it. Troy liked it. And I mean, I had some issues with it.
Yeah,
Troy's sort of
obviously-
like Troy's putting me out here right now. I'm looking at
Oh,
him
no,
and,
I was like,
he's
if you
just
want me to
looking
talk
at me.
about it, I'm like, I thought, I don't want to say it's a stupid show, because I think it's very, the plotting is
It's a
very
stupid
good.
show.
But yeah, it's kind of, unlike Smallville, where really it was just kind of a one-note concept, it's like, when's it going to be Superman? When's it going to be Superman? Which really bothered me. This show starts with Bruce Wayne's parents being shot, like, right off the bat. So he's 10. And so they're like, and they have all the villains, like the Penguin is a fairly big character, and apparently he's going to be like a serial killer running
Oh, man,
around
it's
stabbing anyone who's
ridiculous.
like, hey, you look like a penguin, and then he just kills them. And it's just fun. It's a fun
pretty
show.
fun.
It's just so ridiculous. And
Yeah.
apparently, like, I was watching this with our dearly departed Paul Snow, may he rest in peace. And sorry to Paul's parents for making that joke if they're actually listening. But he's alive.
Paul is a valued member of the team, and we miss him dearly.
But
we'll do
we
an
were
in
watching
memoriam at
it,
the end.
and we were like, they were setting up all the villains. Like, they have a girl named Ivy, which isn't even her name in the comics, and like they have a guy who speaks only in riddles, Riddler. And then we were like, oh,
Wow.
they can't have the Joker. Like, they better not have him show up as like a bad stand-up comic. And sure enough, there's a bad stand-up comic
wearing green.
And
A
he's
green
there.
suit.
And they're saying that now they officially said that's not officially the Joker.
Yeah.
Like, they said they're going to take their time, so the theory is every episode they're just going to make a new decoy Joker. Which I think is just annoying trolling enough to be hilarious.
It's great.
It's like, it's really, like, it honestly, and I don't mean this with any disrespect, it made me think of a more faithful to the comics Adam West Batman TV show. Like, it's not over the top crazy like that.
like that.
Gordon's
that's
a good character.
That's a good.
Bullock's a good character. There's definitely Carmine Falcone is going to be amazing. Like,
Yeah.
the idea that this city is fundamentally corrupt and that it kind of needs a hero, and we're just going to see it get worse and worse until Batman shows up. While he's conquering
But
fear
I
as a
really
10-year-old.
like Gordon as sort of
Yeah.
proto Batman.
Yeah.
He's doing a good job. I really liked how he didn't like pulling out his gun a lot,
Yeah.
and how because like there's a scene where he like where normally like you think like Gordon's gonna reach for his gun, like this guy's got a gun pointing at him, and
Yeah,
he
but
doesn't.
he doesn't. He just chases him with intense close-ups.
he improvises with ways to get around doing it.
Yeah.
It's very sort of like in the vein of like Batman and sort of pre-Man of Steel Superman, where it's like we don't want to kill people, so we're gonna be comic book creative to get around doing
which
it.
I think is better and more interesting storytelling for me personally. Like, everyone complains about the moral code, but I just think it makes for more compelling storytelling. If you can just snap someone's neck, that's dull. It's not earned. It's not satisfying.
That was a gun? Have you seen that College Humor bit? Where he's like, no guns.
no guns.
No guns.
Batman, that was a gun. That was a gun.
That was a gun.
That was a gun.
This is a gun?
Alfred, Lucius, you didn't tell me this was a gun.
I'm sorry,
But no, what I
Batman.
liked is that, yeah, Gordon's kind of like trying to be Batman,
Yeah.
but he can't really fight it.
Yeah.
Because he's not Batman. I think that's so compelling to see. Because we've never really had a cop show like that.
Yeah.
Where it's one cop and everything is corrupt around him.
Yeah.
I think that's compelling TV. And even he can't even trust his wife.
Yeah.
Because she might be a lesbian who's actually had a former relationship with one of the cops who's trying to kind of like show that Gordon's corrupt, because Gordon, without knowing it, is now like fully enmeshed in like the crime owned part of the GCPD.
Yeah.
And it's both compelling and really silly at the same time. So I'm tuning in Monday.
Yeah,
again.
I'll be there Monday as well.
It might get tiring after a while, but as I said, I don't think I'll be as annoyed with it as I was Smallville. Because in Smallville, I was like, he looks like Superman. He's wearing red and blue. For crying out loud, he's a superhero now? Supergirl's here? Why is he not Superman? He's living in Metropolis and working for the Daily Planet? Stop it!
Yeah.
But here, Batman's 10. Like, he can't be Batman.
Yeah.
At best, he can be really ineffective Robin. Also, Alfred's a real
Robin.
jerk in this show, and 10-year-old Bruce Wayne has to put him in his place.
It's
And I'm really
hilarious.
enjoying the 10-year-old just like putting the British Butler in his place. That's fantastic.
I remember one other piece of Marvel news after this discussion just now that I'll throw in at the end. I watched the season 2 premiere of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and it was good. There were one or two pretty huge, crazy plot points that, yeah.
How is Absorbing Man? I heard they're actually putting characters from the comics in the show now.
Yeah, he's very hard to kill, just like every other villain in the show. I mean, basically, like, with villains and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., it's like, can you kill them with a gun? You know, and it's like a flow chart. Then it's like, if it's like, can you kill them with a gun? Like, yes. Then it's like, okay, well then, like, who do they have working for them? And then you filter into, can you kill them with a gun? No. So Absorbing Man is definitely one of the characters you can't kill with a gun because
he absorbs
it. So I'm starting to think of ways that they're gonna overcome him, and it's gonna have to do something. It's gonna have something to do with like him grabbing onto something that somehow destroys him when he thinks he's absorbing it. But maybe not. I don't know. Well, he might be a good guy in the end. We never know with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. But there were some pretty huge turns. Definitely a lot of turns that did not show up until the end of the first season when it started to get good last year. So it's going in a good direction. There are the internet was ambivalent on a few characters, but I think they generally liked the episode. And Bill Paxton is gone. He is very dead.
No, I liked Bill. And we know you liked
But Lucy Lawless is now playing a small role, and she may also die, but we're not sure.
And then she'll come back as Xena.
But there was a great bit at the beginning of the episode, the beginning of the season, where we meet. I'm sorry, I'm blanking on the name. Is it the Wolf Pack? It's like World War II, led by Captain America.
Commandos.
The Howling Commandos, yeah.
Led by Dum Dum Dugan. And that's to promote the Agent Carter series that's coming out that I'm actually really excited for, because we're going to be Captain America's girlfriend from World War II, and it's going to be like 40s, 50s action, which, as we all know,
it's the best kind.
The 5 minutes of 50s action that we got in the first episode was excellent. It was a pretty cool scene, especially for people that knew who the people were. So yes, that was Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Anything left on comic books before we go to the Rocketeer and sign out?
I guess we have some Marvel news about Star Wars, but I'm not writing anything.
All right, very quickly.
Yeah, when Disney bought Star Wars, as we all know, Disney also owns Marvel, and so that means that the comic book rights for Star Wars returned to Marvel. They were originally at Marvel.
Before the movie even came out, the first Marvel film.
They were originally with Marvel, and then they moved to Dark Horse, and now they're moving back to their home at Marvel, and they've announced 3 new comic runs, or comic series, that will premiere next year. A Princess Leia series, a Darth Vader series, and a Luke and Gang series that takes place right after the destruction of the Death Star in Episode 4.
Cool.
Now I'm imagining like a Little Rascals. Luke and the gang. Han, Leia's gonna give you cooties. Never tell me the odds. Han, your balls dropped.
Enjoy the Rocketeer. Rocketeer to the stars.
Right up for the list.